listen to your breath? From dgrunman@gmail.com to Lewis Markham, lewis.markham@fastnet.net. Subject, affection, avoidance, and about damn time. Dear Lewis, firstly, let me say that I miss you a great deal. I think of you often, wonder how you're doing, and then get on with my life, wholly failing to reach out in any way at all. I get your annual holiday letters with the photos of you and Joanne and the kids who look more like actual human beings with each passing year. And then another year passes, and I'm still a reclusive lout who hasn't bothered to touch base and say, "Hey, how's it all going? Hey, how's it all going?" Secondly, let me confess that as much as I owe you this note, it serves an ulterior purpose that I willingly confess, making it, just another purpose and not so ulterior at all. It occurs to me that there's a joke to be written about Sir Mix-a-Lot having posterior motives, but I'll figure out how to phrase it later. Because obviously, what the world needs now is more jokes based on vulgar songs from the early 90s. I'm writing this email partly as an avoidance, an evasion, a productive procrastination. I should be sending my mother an email. No, I should be calling her, but decided instead to send an email. I don't want to write that email almost as much as I don't want to talk on the phone with her, though, so I'm writing to you instead. Also, I did the dishes and tidied my desk and took a bag of trash out for pickup. Burned a bunch of copies of Butch Walker CDs for Lindsay, who doesn't know who he is, because I think she should start using his music on her show. You know that Lindsay created Served Cold, right? Now she's doing a new show called Day Drinking with Doris on Netflix that's loosely based on her relationship with mom and, I suspect, closely based on mine. So mom left me a voicemail that dad is dead. I saw that it was mom calling and I pushed it to voicemail because I'm an asshole. And then the voicemail said that dad had died and I felt terrible. She rambled a bunch, but what it came down to is that he died last night napping on the couch and she didn't realize it and figured she'd let him sleep through until he woke up and came to join her. But in the morning, he hadn't moved and she realized he was gone. So she started making phone calls, and one of them was to me. I pushed it to voicemail. She meandered through a bunch of logistics and could I be home for the get together memorial thing tomorrow. So dad is dead, and I got a ticket for the red eye tonight. And mom called and I pushed her to voicemail. And now I'm avoiding writing her an email because it seems like there's so much to say that it can't possibly fit into words, you know? Once, when we were tripping on a Saturday in the Silverthorne building, after you showed me how to open the deadbolt with a butter knife, you said you felt like you were talking through the wrong end of the binoculars. Feels a little bit like that, only with a lot more complicated facets. It's like writing through the wrong end of a kaleidoscope. Do you remember when we had a long conversation about how when we wrote letters home from school, we were always trying to find enough things to say in the letters so that the inevitable request for money didn't feel like the point of the letter? We were getting stoned out on the big rock on the far side of the lacrosse field, and the mist had filled in around us so that we couldn't even see the little path where the security truck went by every half hour or something. When the truck came, we'd see the headlights round the curve by Gould Hall, and we'd go silent and lie down on the rock, even though there was no possible way anyone would see us if we were dancing out there in pink boas in the fog. But when the headlights came, we'd lie down on the cold rock and giggle, passing a joint back and forth awkwardly. It felt like a great act of courage to be outside smoking a joint instead of huddled in our room doing bong hits and blowing the smoke into a rolled up towel. I think for me, prep school was largely an extended Hogan's Heroes live action role play. The security truck headlights were the cold, bright searchlights of the watchtowers, the faculty and the dorm staff, the lovable, incompetent Clinks and Schultzes. We were young and good looking, brave and secretive, sneaking out to break the rules, getting back in before anyone knew we'd been gone. In any case, while we were talking about how we were always trying to mask the real reason for our letters home, I had a thought that I didn't say aloud because I thought it would make me less cool. And besides, we were riffing fast and funny on the clever ways of slipping in the request for cash, and I didn't want to lose that thread. God, I loved bantering with you. You were the first person I ever met who could throw down wit at the same pace as me. Whenever you got and I got on a tear, building one joke onto another, playing casually competitive top that line, I felt as though I might not be entirely alone in the world. The only other person who ever came close to understanding those rhythms was my dad, and even he didn't play out a thread the way you could with me. He mostly just got one volley in and then graded my humor. You can use that, or I don't think there's anything there. The thing I didn't say that night, because I was too busy being funny and getting high, was that sometimes it felt to me as though I was only writing to ask for money as an excuse to make contact without admitting that I still needed contact with my parents. The thing we were disguising in our letters was also in its own way a disguise. Maybe that was just me. My family has a lot of weirdness around gifts, about how and when we help and how and when we don't help one another. It often felt as though giving me money was the only way my mom knew how to show her love, and asking for money was the only way I knew how to show mine. And then the money would become a point of resentment at both ends of the exchange. So the love got all hostile and tense. I'm getting philosophical in my middle age. I've been writing essays instead of just jokes and bits and spec scripts to try to get television work lately. Something happened after I quit smoking pot. For a while, I was afraid I would never be able to write anything again. Then I wrote a bunch of really angry stuff. Then I started writing these essays, and they delve into stuff that's really uncomfortable. Some of them are funny. I don't know if you read any of my stuff online when it shows up or if you follow me on social media, but the writing had gotten so much better. I used to think I had to be stoned to be creative, and I didn't realize that the pot was keeping me locked into a mindset I developed in my teens. I was just stuck on a rock, hiding in a fog all those years. Then I stopped smoking pot, and I slowly realized that I was learning new things, finding new directions in my work that I didn't even know I craved until I started feeling again. I always thought I was going to die young. I don't know if you'll remember that. I thought I was going to die when I was 27. Then when I passed my 28th birthday, I figured it'd be 37. I had this dream of immortality that can only really be achieved with unfulfilled potential. And then I quit smoking pot and I outlived my anticipated expiration date. And I discovered I kind of wanted to achieve my full potential. If I'm going to live, I guess, I figured I might as well put something I could be really proud of into the world. When I was a kid, my father told me once that the mark of a great artist is the ability to make it look effortless. And I was too young to really understand that. So I went around thinking that I couldn't be good at anything if it didn't come easy. I spent all that time doing stand up and writing spec scripts and staying high the whole time just to make it as clear as possible that I wasn't putting in any effort at all. Now I'm working my ass off all the time trying to write cleaner, to dig deeper, to take more risk. And people keep telling me it doesn't seem fair to them that it comes so easy to me. I try to explain that it's not easy, it's necessary. Or I glibly blow it off, saying that I have to be incredibly productive to compensate for a lack of talent or marketable skills. None of that is really it, though. I used to plan to die young, and that freed me to be all play all the time. Now I know how much time there really is in a life, and I'm laboring under the crushing urgency of mortality. I wrote that sentence, that phrase, the crushing urgency of mortality, and I thought, ooh, I should call My dad, he would like that. I wonder how long I can expect those moments to keep happening, huh? It happened once after Gary Shandling died. I wrote a joke I thought he would like. I wrote a joke I thought he would like, and I was reaching for the phone. I was reaching for the phone before I realized he wouldn't answer. It was the most Shandling joke I ever wrote. About a year ago, I accidentally said my mom when I meant my girlfriend, and it freaked me out so badly that for about a month I couldn't perform sexually, either of them. I should have called you. You would have laughed at that and given me a tag. Sometimes my best tags and callbacks are written by the introjection of you that I carry with me. The one I banter with internally when I'm in the car on a long drive. I had a joke I'd been doing for a while. Uh, I've been in this relationship long enough that I suggest sex, and she tells me what time it is. I've been doing it for, I don't know, a year and a half or something. And one night on the way to the gig, I was running the set in my head. And when I did that joke, you blurted out a tag in my mind, and I laughed aloud. If I hadn't been driving, I might have high-fived imaginary you. So now I tag it with, last month she bought me an engraved watch. It said, "Can we stop having this conversation?" Every time I do it, I feel like you wrote that joke for me, like it's you getting the laugh. So now my dad is dead, my mom is alone, and I avoided her call, and I'm writing an email to you to avoid writing an email to her that gets more difficult to write the less I write it. Do you ever get to Los Angeles? I can't imagine having much of an excuse to come to Ohio, but man, I would love to see you again. Could you tell Joanne I'm sorry I hit on her when you guys first started going out? I still feel like an asshole about that. It's one of those things that if I think about it while I'm shaving, I cut myself a little bit with the razor. Not like a teenage girl who cuts herself. I mean, the thought of that evening just makes me wince and twitch. And the next thing you know, I got a bloody dot of toilet paper that I'm trying to remember to clean off before I go to some meeting or something that I've had to shave for. I think back over all those meetings, all those pitches that went badly or went well, but still went nowhere. I think about the drives to and from, about the scripts and the cold calls and the disappointments, and I know how much better it would all have been if you'd been out here. If I just had the balls all those years ago to say, damn, you're funny. Let's be partners. Let's work on this stuff together instead of yelling at you and telling you your thoughts on my script were stupid. I know I was insulting and cruel. I didn't know how to be wrong for so long. So I got mad and I shut you out instead of thanking you and making the script better and maybe getting something sold. Blowing up that conversation was probably the first in a long series of self-sabotaging acts of vast stupidity. Crap. Okay. My playlist has just circled around to Going Back, Going Home for the second time. Third, I know it's not the first time I've heard it during this email. I should wrap this up and write the one to my mom. If you ever want to talk, I promise not to send you to voicemail if I see your number on the caller ID. I miss you more than you might imagine all the time, and more than that today. XOXOX, OX, parens, affectionate and ox, close parens, Daniel. From dgrunman@gmail.com to mom, brackets, ellengrun@susquehannatimecode.net. Dear Mom, I'm so sorry you're having to deal with all these logistics on your own. I'll be on the red eye out of LAX, United 726. Love, Daniel.